and welcome again to another Davis County's Community Spotlight podcast. I'm excited that you guys are here today because this is a really fun podcast. I did not know this individual before he was introduced to me, and I'm excited to introduce him to you. But actually, I'm going to have Dax, our Catalyst student, introduce our guest for today. Dax?
So this is my grandpa, and he's a chef entrepreneur. Just loves what he does.
Yeah, this is Russell Barker, chef entrepreneur.
Hello, so great to be here, and this is awesome program. This is super.
It's a great school, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And Davis County, we love Davis County.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to spotlight you because you had such an interesting life. And you've met some really interesting people that you have prepared food for, like Buzz Aldrin and Dan Quayle.
And the French Embassy.
And the French Embassy.
Yeah, and some sports, Steve Young.
Oh, that is fun.
And,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, are you from Davis County then?
I was raised in Weber County.
You were raised in Weber County, and then you raised your family here, and that's how we got Dax.
Right.
Dax, have you been here your whole life?
Yeah, I have.
You have, yeah. So then tell me about Grandpa. Like, when did you know that Grandpa was first a chef?
Well, he always used to have like these kids camps with us, and we'd always just learn how to cook and like basic skills.
Uh-huh.
And that's just great. It just helps us prepare like for later life.
So then not just a culinary chef, but an educator then as well.
Educator, yes.
Okay.
I love to teach.
So you grew up in Weber County. So then let's talk about like how this got started, because most kids don't grow up saying, hey, I'm going to be a chef, or hey, I'm going to be a teacher, or hey, I'm going to go feed the French Embassy.
Yes.
Like, let's
tell
me your story.
Yes, it was quite a story. At a very young age, I knew I loved food.
Yes.
And my mother created a chart for us as far as duties.
Okay.
And some of those included, of course, ironing and doing the dishes and, doing the laundry and so forth.
As all good mothers do. They teach their kids.
Also included cooking. And my brothers and sisters didn't gravitate to that, but I did on the cooking side of things. And so Mom took me to the grocery stores, and she actually had me prepare a menu with her, and then we go shopping for it, and she would teach me how to buy products. And I was really good with math, and so she would say, well, nowadays they tell you how much it is per ounce. And so I'd say, that's not the best deal, this is the best deal. So it kind of started that way. But before then, I was very young, probably around 4 years old.
Oh.
Remember sitting around my grandmother's coal stove. And she loved that coal stove. And I'd be shucking peas, or I'd be clipping green beans, and she'd be making soups and bottling. Then my great-grandmother, her mom, they would come down and they'd make noodles by hand. And they were so thin, they were thread thin. And I'd always try to sneak one while it's drying out. And she'd get her little spoon and like tap on my hands and, no, you got to wait. So it kind of started really young. And then a great experience. My aunt, Kimmy, she's
This is
from
the one from Japan.
Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, she's she came from that country, and she came to Utah, and she started teaching restaurants down in Ogden, some of the noodle parlors down there.
Oh.
Her craft and that. So I didn't realize then, but I think I was her guinea pig.
Okay.
And so she would test her dishes on me. She'd call my mom. I lived through probably a quarter of a mile away through the cornfields, and I'd walk over and she'd set me up to the counter, and then she'd start feeding me.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So instead of going the food critic route, though, you went into the culinary route. What made you choose this profession?
Well, what happened is that it was kind of an accident how it all happened.
Isn't that how life works?
Yeah. My mom was actually Powder Mountain, believe it or not. I'm going to date myself, but when it opened, my mother was helping with the food services up there. And so I went up there. I think I was maybe 15, 16, and I started working a little bit, not in the kitchen. I was working out on the ski slopes. And after that season, my neighbor happened to own a restaurant. And so he thought I was up there working in the food service. And he says, "What are you going to do after season?" I says, "Oh, I don't know." And he says, "Well, why don't you come work for me?" And that's how it started, as washing dishes. And then within 4 years, I had graduated from washing dishes, of course, and cooking, and actually became a partner in a restaurant with him at the age of 19. And that didn't work out so great, but it was a great experience of learning about business and exposure. And at that point, kind of came to a crossroads. What am I going to do? I'm going to continue in this. I loved it. I'm going to continue in this, or am I going to find a different field? And so I decided to continue there. And I did a 4-year apprenticeship on premises of the Salt Lake Country Club, and learned all the different stations I had to work in. Every station, from the pastries to garde manger. Garde manger is cold food, and had to learn saucier and saute and all those things. And then eventually I became after 4 years, I became his sous chef.
Wow. So you are in your young 20s
Yes.
here as a sous chef.
As a sous chef.
Wow.
And then I progressed and took a position as an executive chef at the Alta Club in Salt Lake City, and at the age of 24. And
I still have yet to go to the Alta Club. If you can get me in, I would love that.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll have to work on that. I still have great friends there. So, that's where a lot of my experiences came with preparing meals for some of the famous people and some movers and shakers in Salt Lake City. And, the governors and the city councilmen and all those kind of people, and high-powered businessmen.
So then from Salt Lake City, how did you go from here and working with our local politicians into doing some of these bigger clients, these bigger, well-known celebrities?
Okay, so that evolved through the Alta Club. And Senator Jake Garn was very involved, as you all know, with the space program. And so he brought the Apollo 11 crew up for a meal there at the Alta Club. And Jake just asked me to fix a really nice meal. And
No pressure.
Yeah. And so anyways, I remember it was a halibut dish. I don't remember what I did for the other courses, to be honest with you. I think I did a poached pear for dessert.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
Yes. And so anyways, Jake asked me to come up, and I got an opportunity to shake their hands and I was awed.
Oh, my
of course.
goodness.
I remember in 1969 laying outside on a sleeping bag and looking up at the moon when they were up there, and I'm thinking like, oh, I can see them. But anyways, it's kind of neat how it all evolved. And then a lot of opportunities where other people, I believe I actually fed the first Catwoman in history.
Oh.
And I've, Steve Young. And
sounds like you've had quite the experience.
Robert Redford, a bunch of people. But and one of the neatest, most challenging was the French embassy.
So tell us how that happened.
So this was kind of interesting how this happened. They came in, I believe it was in 1995, and we were in the state. We were looking for the Olympics to come here. And so they were doing their due diligence, trying to find a place where they could use for their home base when they're here. And so they came. I fixed them a dinner. It was a 9-course meal.
Wow.
And it was wasn't huge. It was 30 people, but took the whole dining room.
I love that you're like, this isn't huge. For me, 30 people is huge.
And you think about that, 9 courses at 30 people, that's
a lot of work.
That's a lot of dishes, in that. So 270 plates you've got to get out.
Oh my gosh.
And I had the opportunity, I created a nice little centerpiece, was their logo with ice carving, and done things like that as well.
That's thoughtful.
And that. So, and they actually gave me a Medal of Honor, and said that it was one of the best meals they'd ever had in the United States.
Oh, high praise.
Yeah, so it was quite an experience in that. And so that led me to the entrepreneur side of things.
Yes. How has this evolved? Because you're no longer practicing as a full-time culinary chef. You have your hands in many different things right now.
Right. I'm consulting, designing kitchens, commercial kitchens. I'm teaching professionals in the field about food service and so on and so forth. And so I got approached by one of my neighbors, say several years ago, and she was on one of the committees for the Salt Lake Olympic Committee, SLOC. And so she asked me to come in and roast some almonds, cinnamon roasted almonds. My brother owned a business of that, and so I went and did it. And IOC was there, SLOC was there, and
a lot of influential people.
Yes, and so they said, we've got to have this at the Olympics. And so then I met with my brother, and I said, this is what it's going to do. And that was, I believe, in first in 1995, and then in 1991 when we really started kicking up in that. But we had 14 kiosks in 9 different venues, and we were the only local vendor for food in Utah to be able to.
And is that where your love of wanting to encourage and help local Utahns get their food exposed came from?
Yes, that's one of the first starts that happened.
Okay.
I grew up on a farm. Okay, I think I forgot to mention that, but I grew up on a farm. So working with your hands in the soil and working with cattle and so on and so forth. And so then I took that, I created a salad dressing company and produced salad dressings for the wholesale market and retail market, and was in Costco, Albertsons, and Smith's and stuff like that. And I decided that really wasn't, that was too narrow for me. And that. So, but I did help somebody there as well, and I handed it off to another local person here that creates those kind of things and taught them how to make those dressings, and they're still viable today.
That's exciting.
And that. So that kind of started there. Then it came to me as a chef in my consulting world that I consulted with restaurants from Newport Beach to Jackson, Wyoming to Telluride, Colorado, and everywhere in between for over 11 years, teaching restaurants how to be more successful, how to take a piece of meat, cut of meat, and be able to create something out of it and get the best yield and to help them be more successful. And so that's where I really learned about helping others succeed, and I got a lot of
love and fulfillment out of that.
Out of that, definitely. So, and then that progressed. That I put together a cafe for a local company in Lehigh for corporate dining, and also for their retreat for battered women, and created the kitchen and so on and forth them, and created and run that for 5 years for them. Then from that point, during that time, I was approached by a rancher through my dad that was raising purebred Wagyu in Utah.
Okay.
Then that's when.
And for those who don't know, this is a kind of beef.
Yes, this is the breed that made Kobe beef famous in Japan, and it's a very high marbled, tasty, one of the best meats that it's like the Lexus of.
But it wasn't really exposed to our local market
No,
quite yet.
no, it
so
wasn't.
So what did you do here?
So what I did is so we created a partnership, so to speak, not financially in any way, but we created, and then we brought on, so I went searching because I needed a little more
We need
product,
more beef.
more cattle. So we found 2 other ranchers in Utah that use the same bloodline that we were using. And that. So then we brought them together. They're from Utah. And I started to have chefs calling me from around, asking me, I understand you got Wagyu, Russ, you know. And so that kind of built from there. And then I was able to move into a local food service distributor and be able to help other people receive this great beef that we raise here in Utah. And so that's where I really realized, going back to my roots of on the farm and being able to share this and to help people. So much of our meat products go out of state. It doesn't really need to.
No.
And so that's what I started doing, is trying to help people be aware that we have great products. Not only Wagyu, but I also help with other ranchers to bring in their English breeds to the market as well, like Angus and Hereford and so on and so forth.
I grew up, we had a dairy farm, and we had also some Hereford cows as well. And no, the meat is very different.
Yes.
It's so much better having it come locally, be butchered locally, having it farm to table. That amount of time being cut down increases the quality of the product as
Right,
well.
and keeps the integrity of the product. It also shares so much. And through that process, I started getting involved in local farmers that were raising vegetables and fruits through farmers markets, and doing whatever I could do to help promote them. And that's where I got my grandson, Dax, involved.
And so Dax, now I'm under the impression that Grandpa started dragging you out. I don't know if it was begrudgingly or not.
No.
Tell us about the early days in the farmers markets.
I just remember like having to like go there, and I mean, it was an experience, and I ended up liking it.
Did
At
you?
first I didn't.
No. So were you giving samples? Were you showing and talking about the products? Tell us what you were doing.
I learned all about it just from like hearing him talk to about others.
So he did have to help with the grunt work of setting up the tents and so on and so forth. But quickly he grabbed a hold of what I was conveying to the public, and he quickly got involved in that and loved to talk to people and share what we were trying to accomplish here in Davis County.
This is exciting. Now, Dax, I want to ask you, one of the reasons that we were talking about bringing Russ in here was some of the work that he's doing nowadays, like the volunteer work. Can you tell me a little bit about what Russ is doing here now?
You know what? I'm not too involved in it.
He's not, but he's aware of the Pro Start program that I've been involved in for many years, and a chef mentor for a lot of the Pro Start programs within the state of Utah.
I did see a picture, though, of Dax with a little chef hat on.
Yes, and that's really started right here in Davis County, where we built our home, and I designed a kitchen so that I could teach people, and particularly my grandchildren, some of my experiences. And when you learn at a young age these kind of things, it's more about cooking. It's life skills, learning how to create things, learning how to work with others, learn how to realize fresh product and local product, and how to enjoy those kind of things. And then they'll be able to take those skills for life at their own homes, and help their families understand these things as well, and that. So.
And I think this is where you and I connected, was on the education side of things.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have chosen to do this podcast here at Catalyst, as opposed to renting a studio somewhere else. We want to teach, and we want to help students learn. And isn't everybody a student?
Yes.
Aren't we always
we
still
always
students?
I always tell my staff and myself, if I'm not learning something today, I'm falling behind.
Well said.
So we can always learn something. I've learned things from dishwashers. I've learned some from, cooks, and so on and so forth. And so, and other businessmen. I have a great team of business mentors to be able to help me through my process of growing and sharing and so forth. And that's helped them as well understand what I'm trying to do. And so they get really passionate about that. And they're like, okay, Russ, let's go.
So if someone wants to reach out to you, Russ, and mentorship, education, culinary, beef, all of those things, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me through my website.
Okay.
Or through email.
And what is your website?
Website is www.platinumprovisionswagyu.com, and there's all about our story there. And then also my email is srussellb11@gmail.com. 2 S's and 2 L's in Russell. So
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so glad we got to showcase and spotlight you today because you have such a great life story. This has just been so fun to sit and just listen to you and to listen about all the things that you're doing now in the community, both here in Davis County and throughout the state of Utah.
yes.
And Dax, thank you so much for introducing our guest today.
Of course.
That was wonderful. Okay, well, Davis County, thank you so much. If you want to reach out to Russell, you heard him. He gave his website and his email address. Just give him a shout out and just give him a call or
Well, thank
a
you.
message. Yeah.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit, Davis County. Thank you. Bye, guys.